So I wanted to introduce a new segment here on the Zach Kroll Sports Podcast. A lot of people have been asking me, Zach, I want to know how you feel about the NFL, because you always talk about so many teams, but who do you think is the best team in the NFL right now? If you watched or listened to last episode, you obviously heard my opinion on that, so kind of a spoiler there. But I'm going to give you guys my top 10 teams in the NFL right now. I don't know if we're going to be doing this segment every week, but we'll definitely be doing it often depending on what you guys think. And I want to talk some football. I want to tell you guys who I think right now are the best teams in the league, how I'm feeling about them, and why. So without further ado, I'll get some music going. Here are my top 10 teams in the NFL right now. My number 10 team in the NFL right now is a team that is 3-0. However, there's a twist. The three teams they've played have a combined record of 0-9, and that is Vic Fangio's Denver Broncos. And let me tell you guys something about Denver. I had my doubts on this team coming into the season. You know why? Because for the last 2 years, going into the season, I've had the same mentality as a lot of other people do in the media right now. Denver has always had talent. However, the last 2 years between Joe Flacco and Drew Lock, they didn't have a trustworthy quarterback to succeed with this talent. And Vic Fangio, when he decided to announce Teddy Bridgewater as the starting quarterback, he realized that, look, we just need a quarterback not to make mistakes, not turn the ball over, and let these weapons like Jerry Jeudy, who's obviously hurt, but Cortland Sutton is back healthy. Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams are two good running backs. No offense, a good tight end. And the Broncos defense is one of the better units in the league. Von Miller, Patrick Surtain looks like one of the better rookies in the NFL. I was harsh on Denver for not drafting Justin Fields, but this Surtain looks like a player. And look, Denver has to prove it to me a little bit more, obviously. There are some people that will consider them higher than 10. Let's see what they do at home against the Baltimore Ravens this week. Baltimore is a good team with a playoff pedigree, but they could easily be 0-3 right now. Give them credit for winning the last two games, but I think this is a winnable game for Denver at home against Baltimore on Sunday. They're my number 10 team with a record of 3-0. My number 9 team in the NFL is those Baltimore Ravens. And I'll give the Ravens credit. They seem like a team that no matter what happens, they're so well coached and they're so committed to their identity of running the football. Obviously, Lamar Jackson will make some big-time throws here and there like he did on 4th and 19, leading the Ravens into Detroit and getting a big win over the Lions on a Justin Tucker 66-yard field goal. But I'm excited for this Ravens-Bronco game on Sunday. I do think that these two teams have wild card written all over them. I'm sorry. As you'll see later in my top 10, I don't think Denver is winning the AFC West, and I don't think Baltimore's winning the AFC North. I will give the Ravens credit. Finding a way to win all of these games with the injuries they sustained has been super impressive. Coach Harbaugh is one of the best coaches in the NFL, and I just love how 2 years ago the Ravens decided to build their offense around Lamar Jackson, decided to zig when the rest of the league decided to zag, and it's paying off. The Ravens should pay him big money sooner rather than later. I think Lamar Jackson is that good. And look, when it comes to Baltimore's ceiling, can they be a playoff team? Yes. I want to see what Rashad Bateman does coming back from injury, the rookie wide receiver they drafted from Minnesota. Hollywood Brown is a good player, but he just dropped another pass in that game against the Lions. And I don't know. Sammy Watkins is good. Mark Andrews is a very good tight end. I just don't know if the Ravens offense scares me. I think they're just going to go as far as Lamar Jackson takes them. My number 8 team in the NFL. Let's stay in the AFC. Let's go to the AFC West. The Las Vegas Raiders check in as my number 8 team in the NFL right now. I've been saying it for years. Derek Carr is a quarterback you could win with. The last couple years when the Raiders haven't made the playoffs, I really didn't think it was his fault. He was playing really good football. I think he's improved over the last couple years, year by year. However, in year 4 under John Gruden, the Raiders made it clear it is playoffs or bust this year, or else we're in trouble. It's year 4 of this regime. We got to go. And it's crazy because week 1, the Raiders thought they had won the game on the touchdown to Bryan Edwards. Carr then throws a ball off Willie Snead's hands. It's intercepted, and everyone's like, wow, the Ravens are really going to find a way to steal this game. But then the Raiders go into Heinz Field and take advantage of playing a bad Steeler team. They find a way to beat and outlast Jacoby Brissett and the Dolphins after, let's face it, they were down 14-0 in that game. And I like Miami's defense more than anyone. That was an impressive win. Huge game. Monday Night Football this week. Raiders and Chargers. But look, the Raiders defense looks improved. I'll give Gus Bradley credit. I'll give John Gruden credit. Finally recognizing, look, even though Paul Gunther is my friend, I got to let him go. This defense is historically bad. And Gus Bradley has made this Raider defense at least average, which with this offense led by Derek Carr, it's getting the job done. Bryan Edwards looks pretty good. Waller is a player. Hunter Renfrow just converted on another third down. I like these Raiders. I do. And it's a big year. They got to make the playoffs. I put them over Denver right now simply because of the quarterback. I think Derek Carr is that good. I really do. At number 7, let's keep it in the AFC West. And we have to recognize and give credit to the team that just went into Arrowhead Stadium and beat the Chiefs. It's the Los Angeles Chargers. Justin Herbert is the truth, man. He really is. What he is doing right now makes you realize how impressive it was last year when he came into the league and just took the NFL by storm. Because look at some of the other rookie quarterbacks. Justin Herbert had Anthony Lynn as his head coach, by the way. I understand the Chargers have good weapons, but that's not the best head coach in the league. His clock management is not ideal. And Justin Herbert still threw 35 touchdowns, 10 picks, and 1 Offensive Rookie of the Year. You look at Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, even Mac Jones right now. I would throw also, a lot of the other Justin Fields into that category as well. The rookie quarterbacks are struggling, and Justin Herbert, as only a second-year quarterback, looks like he's just as good, maybe if not better than Patrick Mahomes. What he was able to do in that game against Kansas City, converting on 4th downs. I love the aggressiveness of Brandon Staley. That was phenomenal. And let's face it, historically, a close game like that at Arrowhead Stadium, that's usually not a game the Los Angeles Chargers find a way to win. I feel like over the last 5 or so years, the Chargers have really been a team that has had trouble winning close football games. And so far this year, Justin Herbert has gotten it done for them against Washington. He's gotten it done for them at Arrowhead Stadium against the Chiefs. Obviously, I think the Chargers would have beaten the Cowboys if they didn't just shoot themselves in the foot repeatedly with penalties. And I think they're one of the 5 most talented teams in the NFL. I really do. They'll go as far as Justin Herbert takes them. I can't wait. Monday Night Football this week. Raiders, Chargers. I have the Chargers as my number 17 in the NFL right now. At number 6, the Green Bay Packers. Look, I picked the Packers to come out of the NFC before the season started, and I'm not going to lie. At halftime of that Week 2 game against the Detroit Lions, I was really questioning it. I was like, is Aaron Rodgers really focused on football right now, or does he want to host Jeopardy? But then in the second half of that game, he lights up the Lions. We get it, it's the Lions. But I was so impressed with what Green Bay was able to do in that game on Sunday Night Football against the San Francisco 49ers. Here's the truth of the matter for the Packers, right? I think they're clearly the best team in the NFC North. I would be very surprised if they don't win the division. However, this regular season isn't really that important for Green Bay because they've showed us the last 2 regular seasons that all they do is win and then come up short in the NFC Championship game. I really believe that last year's loss to the Buccaneers is one of the worst losses in franchise history. The Packers, to me, last year felt like the best team in the NFL. And maybe they just are focused on getting to the playoffs healthy and catching momentum by December. We saw what Tampa Bay did last year. I was also impressed with the Packers' defense and really overall their play in the trenches. I was concerned about Joe Barry. His defense got torched by Jared Goff in Week 2. Luckily, Rodgers and company were able to outscore the Lions. But Green Bay was the more physically gifted team in this game. Their offensive line, who is without Corey Linsley and David Bakhtiari, obviously Bach is hurt, Linsley got traded. I think they played well. I like some of the pieces in their secondary. Obviously, Alexander, Amos, Savage. I like the kid Stokes from Georgia that they drafted. He looks like he's a good player. Maybe in an NFC that I think right now is the Rams and Tampa at the top, I think Green Bay should be in that conversation. I think right now Green Bay is the 3rd best team in the NFC. At number 5, let's go back to the AFC. Cleveland, the Browns check in at number 5. And look, The Browns are a team that I think we all agreed going into the season, they were going to win a lot of regular season games. I just think the way their team is built is perfect for winning regular season football. And their offensive line, who last year was really the best offensive line in football, hasn't even played well. Jedrick Wills has been banged up. You hope that he could get healthy. But I just love Nick Chubb. I love Kareem Hunt. And Jarvis Landry is hurt, which is super unfortunate, but it hasn't fazed Cleveland. They've taken advantage of a somewhat easy schedule the last 2 weeks, getting the dubs over the Texans and the Bears, and it's crazy because Tyrod Taylor was putting up a good fight for the Houston Texans in that Week 2 game against Cleveland, but the Browns find a way to win, and their defense played really well in Week 3. I do think that's more of a result of just the Bears' offense being totally inept, but you give the Browns' defense credit. I just don't think Myles Garrett is going to be able to get 4.5 sacks each and every week. But look, the Browns are a threat in the AFC. They've given Kansas City trouble the last 2 times, and I get it. The Chiefs have won both games, but realistically, what happens if the Browns' punter doesn't fumble the ball in Week 1? Does Cleveland win that game? Maybe. I trust Kevin Stefanski. The only question is, on a big 3rd and 8 late in the game, is Baker Mayfield going to be able to make a big throw? That's still a question, but I do think ultimately he is the best option for Cleveland as a long-term quarterback. He's shown me enough throughout his NFL career that the locker room could rally around him. He's built for an offense like Kevin Stefanski's, and I do think he works hard. I would pay Baker Mayfield if I'm the Cleveland Browns sooner rather than later, just because that price keeps going up. But look, Cleveland, I think right now they are one of the best teams in the AFC and are definitely a Super Bowl contender if their quarterback could make a big throw. Props to Kevin Stefanski. They are at Minnesota this week. Big game for them as Stefanski faces his former team. Staying in the AFC for number 4, I will have Buffalo. Look, not going to lie, I was concerned about Josh Allen the first 2 games of the season. I still can't believe the leap that this guy was able to make last year. I really think it was the most improved player in NFL history type stuff. He was that good last year. He was one of the 4 best quarterbacks in the league. In Week 3, against a Washington defense that I thought was supposed to be pretty good, he lit them up, so props to him. However, I want to see Buffalo beat Kansas City. They may as well be the best team in the AFC. They might be. However, if they are, go to Arrowhead Stadium and beat the Chiefs. The Chargers did it. The Browns should have done it. There's no reason why in the biggest game of your season, where, let's face it, as good as Buffalo's been the last couple of years, they haven't beat Kansas City. I want to see them do that. I will give Josh Allen credit. He is much better than I would have ever expected him to be. Buffalo's defense has played much better than last year, which is a good thing. However, I'm concerned about their offensive line. They still don't really have that much of a running game. And even though Emmanuel Sanders played really well in Week 3 and Cole Beasley's a player, are those guys like scaring a defensive coordinator compared to other wide receiver rooms? That's the only small question I have. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs are going to win and lose the Bills a lot of games. Right now, I will have them at number 4. They have a layup game this week, home against Houston. Davis Mills getting the start most likely. If you are in a survivor pool, that would be probably the game to pick. The number 3 team in my power rankings, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the defending Super Bowl champions. And look, I said this on Tuesday's episode, I think there are very few teams in the NFL that would have been able to go into the Los Angeles Coliseum and beat the Rams in Week 3. That's how motivated they were for this game. They really came to play. They played such sharp and non-mistake football, and Sean McVay did a phenomenal job. However, you trust Tom Brady in the big game. The Buccaneers have a lot of talent. A small concern for this team, though. I don't know how good their defense is. Last year, their pass rush was historically good, and this year it's been fine, but their secondary is so banged up, and it was a concern going in. They just signed Richard Sherman. We'll see if this changes anything, but their pass rush hasn't really been able to get to the quarterback, so their secondary has been getting burned. Last year, what made them so good and what led this team to a Super Bowl title partly was their pass rush and how good that was, especially in the Super Bowl. They really made Patrick Mahomes look lifeless out there, totally taking advantage of a banged-up Chiefs offensive line that really never stood a chance in that game. Tampa Bay will go to New England this week, and they have the big talent advantage in that game. It's probably one they should win, and we'll see how Tom Brady plays. I think he'll either play really well and tear it up, or it's going to be an emotional spot for him, and he won't really know what to do. However, it's a game Tampa Bay should win. However, I think New England is going to be competitive. I really do. Tampa Bay hasn't really been blowing anyone out. They easily could have lost to Dallas week 1. Atlanta was in it in week 2. I think the Falcons are one of the worst teams in the NFL. Not like Jets, Jaguars bad, but still, I would put them in the bottom 5, 6, 7. And they were competitive in Tampa. Last week, the Bucs really never stood a shot in that game against the Rams. I want to see how they respond in New England. I still think they're the second best team in the NFC. Carolina is right now ahead of them in the NFC South. I still like Tampa Bay to win that division. But right now, if you ask me which defense is better, Carolina or Tampa, I would say Carolina. I really would. At number 2, I still have the Kansas City Chiefs. I still think the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC. I really do. And I'll tell you why. I understand they could easily be 0-3 right now. However, here's the crazy thing. They could easily be 3-0. They do not turn the ball over this often. We should know that. We've seen Patrick Mahomes throughout his career. The Chiefs fumbled the ball in Baltimore territory late in the fourth quarter, which would have set up the game-winning kick by Harrison Butker. And then in the Charger game, they turned the ball over 3 times in the first half, 2 times in the red zone. Edwards-Helaire fumbles again. Tyreek Hill fumbles. Mahomes throws an interception late. It was a disaster. And I understand the Chiefs' defense isn't particularly good. However, I don't think they could stay this bad throughout the season. I don't. I still think Kansas City is the best team in the AFC. And if they lose to Buffalo on Sunday Night Football in 2 weeks, then I'll be willing to put the Buffalo Bills at number 1 in terms of best teams in the AFC. I still think Kansas City wins the AFC West. Let's see Denver or the Raiders beat them in a big game. I think the Chargers are really good. You know, props to them for going into Arrowhead and getting the win. I loved Brandon Staley's aggressive play call. But I do think the Chargers are better than Denver and are better than the Raiders. And Kansas City, I don't think they're turning the ball over that many times going forward. I really don't. Let's see what Josh Gordon could do as their newest acquisition as well. My number 1 team in the NFL right now is the Los Angeles Rams. I said it last week. I think Matthew Stafford was exactly what Sean McVay needed in a quarterback. He just expands the playbook for the Rams. And Jared Goff was decent. Sean McVay deserves credit for being able to get him to a Super Bowl. But Matthew Stafford just expands the playbook so much. He has instant chemistry with Cooper Kupp. No other defense in the NFL has 2 guys that you have to game plan for, like Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. They could just blow up your game plan. They could win a game by themselves. And I think right now, even though it's week 3, and big picture, we're going to have to say, who is the best team in December? It doesn't really matter who in week 3 is the best team in the NFL. But if you were to ask me, it is the Los Angeles Rams, and it's impressive. Cam Akers has been hurt. Robert Woods hasn't really been able to get going yet, but Sean McVay, he has never lost a football game while his team has been leading at halftime. That's one of the crazy stats in the NFL. He's about 40-0, maybe a little more, and the Rams, even though they play in a tough NFC West, I really do think they are the best team. Notice, I didn't put San Francisco in this top 10. I think their secondary is shot, and I think Jimmy G is kind of just a guy. I think the 49ers would be better starting Trey Lance. Seattle's defense is not good. Arizona, even though they're 3-0, they could easily be 1-2 and almost lost to Jacksonville. They really had to sweat that one out. That's concerning for me. I have the Rams, even though they play in a tough NFC West, as my number 1 team in the NFL. So to recap, Denver at 10, Baltimore at 9. Those 2 teams play each other this week. Raiders at 8, Chargers at 7. Those 2 teams play each other this week. Packers at 6, Browns at 5, Bills at 4, Bucks at 3, Chiefs at 2, Rams at 1.